The small town of Clover Falls is known for its slasher movies, which somehow film themselves with the real townspeople as the victims. In Clover Falls, there are several maniacs who kill those chosen by fate, and then the murders are edited into full-length movies. Abby is the adopted daughter of the genre's main star, the hulking Roger Bladecut, whose face is disfigured. Roger is getting older, and it's becoming harder and harder for him to come back from the dead, so Abby is thrilled when her father agrees to let her play his sidekick in a new film. The only problem is that Abby will have to kill Sam, a rebellious schoolgirl whom Abby unexpectedly falls in love with. For years now, a new generation of horror filmmakers has been trying to approach the slasher genre from a fresh angle, one that reinvents it within the framework of today's social agenda, meaning no sexism, chauvinism, racism, slut-shaming, and with mandatory LGBTQ storylines. Honestly, the results have been mixed. For example, the feminist remake of the cult 70s slasher Black Christmas turned out even worse than the weak 2006 version. But the allure of the progressive slasher persists, and more filmmakers are trying to take a bite out of it. When you watch Bloody Axe Wound, you can almost picture its creator, writer, and director Matt Lawrence, trying to marry the old with the new. On one hand, we have the classic setup of a masked, machete-wielding maniac brutally killing loud and stupid teenagers. There's his heir, Abby, who dreams of following in her father's footsteps, and the problem arises when, upon meeting her potential victims, the future killer realizes they don't deserve such a fate. But here lies a major logical flaw. The issue is that these potential victims of Abby aren't the classic archetypes from 80s slashers but rather characters straight out of Netflix-era teen rom-coms. You've got the brainy, bespectacled nerd who plays the trumpet and apologizes for every word, the black sporty girl who's into dancing, the brash lesbian who's never without a joint, plays the drums, and talks about clitoral piercings, and the only guy in the group, a perpetually stoned goofball, whose defining trait is that he's completely harmless to girls. In Bloody Axe Wound, there's a scene where Abby, having grown attached to her new friends, tries to defend them to her father, arguing that they're not so bad. But the sleight of hand in shifting the narrative leaves much to be desired. If you're trying to deconstruct a classic slasher, your characters should be straight out of that era, and it's them you should be justifying, not the winners of a 2024 Most Hip Teen contest. The action in Bloody Axe Wound is supposedly set in the late 80s, at least, audio and video cassettes are in use, but when it suits them, the creators cheat. For example, in one scene, the characters make a call on the street using old rotary phones with coiled cords, which they somehow have with them. Of course, all of this is part of the game, a kind of postmodern parody, much like the whole concept of horror movies being filmed, edited, and released on VHS by some invisible force. But what exactly this game is about, isn't very clear. The creators set up the board, give themselves a huge advantage, and then, with a knowing look, sprinkle in metaphors, presenting a generational conflict through the lens of an aging maniac who can barely crawl out of his grave and doesn't even know why he kills anymore, and a trendy, smart girl who asks the right questions, finds the right answers, and, despite loving her dad, ultimately buries an axe in his head for the sake of her beloved.